Sob with this broke teacher as her stunning airport act of kindness lets a stranger see her dying grandma one last time. Gasp as brutal hardship then robs Lisa of everything years later, threatening to end her world. Marvel at the twist of unbelievable fate and grab those tissues as this viral story sweeps you on an unforgettable ride of goosebumps, laughs, and tears, restoring faith that compassion ripples in mysterious ways between strangers turned guardian angels. Lisa Greene's hands trembled as she gripped her plane ticket, anxiety coursing through her veins. She took a deep breath as she stepped into the bustling airport terminal, the cacophony of announcements and crowds hitting her like a tidal wave. Though normally Lisa loved coming home to visit her tight-knit family, this trip felt different, painfully different. Her soul was heavy with the burden of her husband Glen's terminal cancer diagnosis just weeks earlier. At just 34 years old, vibrant Glen had been Lisa's rock, her travel companion, her dance partner under the stars, her best friend. His vivacious lust for life had drawn Lisa out of her natural shyness, like a moth to a flame when they first met. She couldn't imagine a life without him by her side. But the doctors had been brutally clear. Glen's aggressive lymphoma was incurable. Their focus had shifted to simply managing his pain in his final months. Each treatment just bought a little more precious time together. Lisa blinked back hot tears as she inched through the security line, memories of Glen flashing like scenes from a movie they'd never finish. Road trips along the coast, cheering at Lakers games, embarking on spur-of-the-moment adventures together. Cancer was robbing them of the lifelong journey they'd dreamed of. Why Glen? Why now? Agonizing questions looped endlessly in Lisa's mind. They'd been so meticulously careful with money since learning of Glen's diagnosis. But even with insurance, the crushing medical bills kept coming. Experimental treatments, medications. It added up heart-wrenchingly fast. Just making ends meet each month had become nearly impossible on Lisa's teaching salary alone. She'd started picking up odd jobs, tutoring, dog walking, anything for extra cash. They'd had to cash out Glen's entire retirement savings too. Swallowing the lump in her throat, Lisa finally reached the front of the security line. As she fumbled to pull her shoes and laptop from her bag, her phone vibrated with an incoming call. It was Glen. "Hi, honey. I just got through security," Lisa answered, craving the comfort of her husband's voice. "Hey, sweetheart. How are you holding up?" Glen asked gently. Though fatigued, his tone still radiated warmth and love. Lisa felt tears threatening again. "Oh, you know. Hanging in there, one step at a time. How are you feeling?" Glen paused before responding optimistically. "Having some good days this week. Trying to stay positive." Lisa knew his cheerfulness was just a brave facade. She could hear his strained, labored breathing through the phone. "Well, keep resting up and enjoying those good days. I'll be home before you know it," she replied, aching to hug him close again. They exchanged "I love yous" before reluctantly hanging up, needing to conserve his energy. Lisa anxiously clutched her necklace, the one Glen gifted her on their honeymoon in Hawaii, as she gathered her things post-security. A piece of him close to her heart always. As Lisa grappled with cancer, tearing away their dreams, she had no clue that hidden within her tears was a surprise waiting to unfold. Would it bring joy or another unexpected challenge? Dragging her feet towards her gate, Lisa realized she had time before boarding to get lunch. On instinct, she found herself wandering into the airport's interfaith chapel instead, seeking spiritual refuge from her inner turmoil. The cozy chapel glowed with natural light as Lisa settled into a back pew. Her turbulent thoughts quieted as she sat there, humbly reflecting on what truly matters in life's shadowy valleys: love, faith, the present moment. By the time she emerged, Lisa felt grounded enough to face her family with composure, ready to soak up every light-hearted laugh and happy memory she could to share with Glen later. Little did she know, her next move would reveal the kindness within. What would she do next to showcase her compassionate heart? But as Lisa made her way to the food court, she spotted a young father pleading with an airline agent up ahead, his little girl in pigtails clinging to his leg. Though not meaning to eavesdrop, Lisa overheard his desperate situation all too well. "Please, I'm begging you. It's imperative I bring my daughter to visit her grandmother one last time," the father urged, his voice cracking with emotion. "She's given just weeks to live, and it would devastate us both to miss seeing her again." The stone-faced agent coolly replied, "That rules prohibited discounts for bereavement travel." Lisa watched the father rub his bloodshot eyes, visibly drained. When he lamented not being able to afford 2 full-price tickets, the agent shrugged. No exceptions made. Lisa's heart shattered watching his anguish, the helplessness of it all. She couldn't stop imagining Glen someday begging just for time, for life itself. Without thinking, she found herself approaching the father as he walked away in despair. "Excuse me, sir," Lisa asked gently. "I apologize for intruding, but I overheard your situation. Please allow me to purchase a ticket for your daughter to travel with you." The man looked at Lisa in disbelief. You would really do that for complete strangers? I can't accept your charity like this," he stammered. Lisa gave a sad smile. "No one should have to say goodbye to a loved one alone. I've been where you are. Please let me help." The man finally accepted when he saw the depths of Lisa's empathy. As she bought the ticket, he introduced himself as Bass and his daughter Anna. They were traveling to Arizona that night to visit his ailing mother. Lisa's heart swelled, knowing she'd relieved even a tiny fraction of their stress. She bid them safe travels, blinking back tears as she thought of Glen waiting at home. When her own boarding group was called shortly after, Lisa took her seat by the window, gazing pensively at the sun-setting sky. Sometimes angels appear when you need them most, she thought. She and Glen had so little time left, too. At least this father and daughter got their goodbye. Lisa cherished the bittersweet time with her family. But 2 days later, as she flew back home, her mind drifted longingly to reminisce about more light-hearted times together before her husband's terminal cancer diagnosis. The flight home dragged on, Lisa's worries weighing heavily on her mind. She just needed to get back to Glen again, to the warmth of his embrace, the comfort of his voice. He needed her strength now. Little did she know a storm of fate loomed ahead, ready to change everything as soon as she landed. Lisa's swelling anxiety turned to dread as she opened her front door hours later. The entire living room was ransacked, drawers emptied, belongings strewn across the floor. She rushed to the bedroom and found it in shambles too. The safe where they kept cash for medical bills left gaping open. Lisa crumbled to the floor in tears as police searched for evidence. She kept trying Glen's phone, but it went straight to voicemail. When he finally called back, the exhaustion in his voice was palpable. The home invasion had shaken him deeply. All the money for Glen's treatments was gone. Over the brutal months that followed, Glen's health rapidly declined as intensive therapies were halted. Each day, the light in his eyes dimmed a little more, his trademark humor and liveliness fading away. And as if her grief wasn't already bottomless, Lisa soon learned she was pregnant, just as Glen was placed on hospice care. She whispered the news tearfully at his bedside one night, holding his frail hand. As the shadows of grief engulfed her, Lisa grappled with the daunting question. How could she navigate life without Glen by her side? The news of her pregnancy, whispered tearfully at his bedside, hung in the heavy air, leaving the uncertainty of how he would embrace this tender revelation in the face of impending loss. "A baby. We're having a baby," Glen breathed in awe, squeezing Lisa's hand with all his might. "That's the most beautiful gift you could have given me." A flicker of his energetic, witty spirit filled Glen's eyes again as he pressed his hand to Lisa's stomach. Their dream of a family would still come true, just not how they'd imagined, not without him. They decided to name the baby Samuel, a name Glen had always loved. The bittersweet revelation filled their final months with as much joy and hope as humanly possible. But all too soon, Lisa went into labor early one gray morning as Glen lay unresponsive beside her. Their time had run out. Glen passed away gently to the sound of little Samuel's first cries, just one room away. The merciless days that followed were a sleepless blur of grief for Lisa. visitation, funeral planning, fielding condolences. She moved through the motions in a daze, clutching baby Samuel through it all. The heartbreak truly sunk in on the day Samuel turned 5. As Lisa watched her radiant little boy blowing out candles, she should have been gazing at him adoringly with Glen by her side. Instead, she sobbed into her hands. Glen was missing it all. He was supposed to be here. As the weight of adversity bears down on Lisa, a lingering question echoes. Can she summon the strength to endure, and will the goodness she's sown find its way back to her? Fate, with its unpredictable twists, holds a tale for her, unfolding in ways no one could anticipate. Over the years, Lisa found solace in small joys. Samuel's milestones and achievements, lazy Sundays, snuggling and reading together, stargazing and talking about his daddy. She immersed herself in work, as both teacher and devoted single mother. Lisa barely got by on her meager salary, but always made sure Samuel had enough. Good food, new shoes, all the books his curious mind desired. She clipped coupons, sold belongings, and survived off kufi. Her little man wanted for nothing, but fate delivered a gut punch one year when Samuel dislocated his shoulder at basketball tryouts. The ambulance ride and ER bills devastated Lisa's savings. She asked the billing office if they could waive any portion of the fees, but they flatly refused. "I'm sorry, ma'am. We simply can't start making exceptions. Our policies are firm," the woman told her. Lisa fought back tears, nodding as she phoned everyone she could asking for loans. Her friend Carla scraped together what little she could. When Carla asked why she needed so much, Lisa confided her dire financial struggles. Carla cried with empathy. She had recently been diagnosed with a neurological condition, but also lacked insurance. Lisa's heart broke, wishing she could help more. She started bringing Carla meals and keeping her company, listening when she needed to talk through fears about the future. No one should suffer alone. But the more Lisa's giving nature tried to fill the voids in others' lives, the emptier she felt herself. Loneliness gnawed at her each night. She plastered on a smile around Samuel, but at times felt utterly hopeless about what would come next. The years flowed by in a blur. Samuel grew into a strong, compassionate young man. Though they were a team of two, Lisa made sure he never felt the absence of a father figure. She nurtured his talents and passions, pushing him to shine his brightest. But at 65, Lisa felt her age weighing on her spirit. Her once tireless body now ached, each day a strain. Doctors cautioned her weakening heart likely couldn't withstand surgery, leaving medications as her only option. Between work and managing her health, just getting through each week was a struggle. In her darkest moments, Lisa found herself pleading to Glen to give her a sign. She needed a spark of inspiration to rally her through this lonely chapter. Some reminder that better days waited over the horizon, a reason not to give up. Little did she know that glimmer was coming. On a quiet Saturday morning, the doorbell drew Lisa to the front door, where a refined young woman stood holding a briefcase. "Hello, ma'am. Are you Lisa Greene?" the woman asked kindly. When Lisa nodded, she extended her hand in greeting. "My name is Clare. I'm here on behalf of the Anna Campbell Foundation." Lisa racked her weary mind but couldn't place the name. She welcomed the woman inside, explaining her confusion. Claire just smiled vibrantly. "Well, I'm here to make it all clear, on behalf of someone who never forgot your generosity." She went on to explain she represented a foundation started by the little girl Lisa had once helped years before at the airport, Anna. After receiving the ticket that allowed her to see her ill grandmother, Anna had flourished into a successful healthcare entrepreneur. Now she was dedicating her life to paying forward the kindness Lisa showed her. Lisa's hands flew to her face in shock, scarcely able to believe the wild synchronicity. After all these years, Anna had found her. "I know this is a lot to process," Claire chuckled, "but Anna wanted you to know that your selflessness changed the course of her life, and now she'd like to honor you in return." She revealed that out of profound gratitude, The foundation wished to gift Lisa's charity for families battling serious illnesses, the same one she and Glen had relied on, with a donation of $2 million. Lisa gasped, immediately bursting into joyful tears. She thought of the years she and Glen had struggled alone through his cancer battle, of little Samuel's own health challenges without insurance, of all the believers who'd held fundraisers just praying to someday cure the deadly disease that had stolen Lisa's epic love story. This gift was the answer she desperately needed, a way to protect other families from the hardships she'd faced, a path to hope. So Glen's suffering was not in vain, a future where people survived instead of slipping away. Lisa hugged Clare tightly, crying endless tears of relief, validation, and thankfulness. In the depths of her grief, she had still helped Anna selflessly, all those years ago. And now, the fruits of that kindness had come back to lift Lisa up in her darkest hour. As Clare left with assurances the donation would be handled securely, Lisa felt Glen's presence nearer than ever. It was the sign she'd prayed for, a reminder that their love story lived on through the people they'd touched, that some lights, once kindled, continued shining long after they were gone. With the sunrise each day brought new light, and now Lisa carried the flame too. She had saved a father and daughter from unbearable grief. Her strength had pulled others from the depths of fear. She had kept Glen's spirit alive in their son. The smallest acts of courage became beacons in the darkness, and the legacy of Lisa's generosity would not end here. For she had realized her purpose, to throw ropes to others still sinking, until they too could stand again. Just as a desperate father had gained one last goodbye by the grace of a kind stranger, Lisa's compassion had come back to her decades later, right when she needed it most.